welcome in to be our guest, and we are honored today to have Mike Holmes from District 31. This is going to be a very important year, Jack.
Right.
15, 16, and our citizens and all of our viewers need to do something very simple. I think Mike had made this statement: get involved.
Right.
This is your country, this is your state. And it's so wonderful also because I'm talking to you, and Jack and I are just so pleased that at 72, you had the motivation not to sit back and do nothing but complain. You said, hey, I'm going to get involved. And Mike, what was your motivating factor for taking on this race for the legislature?
The main motivation, Elizabeth, was just very simple. It's grandchildren, for my grandchildren. I could not live with the fact that our country has gone the direction it has for the last 50 or 60 years on my watch, my generation's watch, and that's very troubling for me. So that was the main motivation. I realized that starting at the age I did, that there's, that going in with thinking you're going to make huge changes is not likely, but you can be doing something. And I'm finding out now you can make changes. You can make groundswell changes if you're persistent enough and you've got your facts and you're passionate about it, which I am. So the simple answer is for my grandchildren was the motivation. I just couldn't stand turning over what we have now to my grandchildren without trying.
And we need to let our viewers know too they need to reach out to you and help you, because if there's things that have to be done, a lot of times things happen because people just kind of sit back and take a, oh well, somebody else will do it attitude.
Right.
And we
you cannot count on that.
We're all in this together.
Right. Our voting percentage in Elmore County is one of the higher ones in the state, and it still was under 20% in this last, and that's absurd for us to have 20% of the population, the voting eligible voters, actually making all the decisions for us. It's not realistic. We need to do much better, and getting involved is the right step. And I am available. Everybody in the district has my cell phone number,
right.
And believe me, they'll use it.
That's
a good thing.
Wonderful.
That's a great thing.
That's the thing you didn't realize.
Yeah,
you did. Yeah,
I realized it, but it's
right.
the calls are interesting. They're diverse, and some of them are problems I really can do something about. Some of them there's nothing I can do. There are different kinds of problems I have no authority nor knowledge to be able to do anything about. But the involvement is precious and it's sorely appreciated.
Let me ask you this: if we ask our viewers, and they're watching us, how can we help you? What are two things that our audience, your people in your district, what can they do to support and help you? Because we are the voice, and there must be ways that we can support you after you're elected.
There are all sorts of grassroots organizations out there, and one of my favorites that I've worked in for the last 3 or 4 years is Legislative Watchdogs. Their membership they're in our chamber, not in our chamber, they can't legally be in there, but in the gallery, and walk in the halls every day of the session. And their voice is important to us, and they're always well informed. They have their facts, and the members know that they can count on the facts that they're getting from them, so they're listened to. So that's just one example. There's dozens.
And they would be considered to be a lobbyist, but that's the right kind of lobbyist.
Exactly.
They're lobbying for the right reason.
Lobbyist is not always a dirty word.
Right.
I'm learning that. There's a lot of knowledge there.
That's
and
right.
Our time constraints are such that if we don't use all those knowledge sources, we're wasting assets.
That's right.
So how does one become a legislative watchdog? I want to know, how did you do that?
Google Legislative Watchdogs in Alabama, and they've got a website, and they will tune you right in. Same thing with all the tea parties that are around. Wetumpka has one of the in fact, I think the largest one in the state. That's one of the ways I was one of the founding members of that tea party in Wetumpka. And we were very fortunate to find the Garrettsons, or they found us, that started that and just been wildly successful. But they're like that all over the state. So they're Rainy Day Patriots, just on and on and on. Just Google Alabama grassroots organizations and go to work.
And last week when you were here, you brought out a very important thing. We talked about the fact that that's all we ever hear about is budget. We need more money, And you said a key word: you cannot spend your way out of problems.
You can't. You can't spend your way to prosperity. One of my old mentors in the business world told me, you can't spend your way out of problems. You got to start solving the problem and get to the base cause first. And we've made huge progress in the last quadrennium in this legislature that the Republicans took over the first time in 136 years. In fact, $1.2 billion a year is the savings that they've clocked up by now. And that's huge in an $8 or $9 billion budget. That's a huge number. However, we can do better, Jack. when I'm going to these different divisions of government, there's administrative waste. There's still waste there. We're not as efficient as we could be. We're doing things in an archaic way sometimes in the IT. From the IT side, there's information technology out there to streamline, make us even leaner and meaner. And we can do that. We can work on, we don't just have to work on raising more revenue. Everybody wants to talk about how we're going to raise more revenue. Well, if we get our private sector cranked up, the engine, that's the engine that drives our train, it's private side.
It's called taxes.
That's right. Rising tide lifts all boats, and
that's right.
Then the revenue stream follows. So that's our answer to that. Let's get our private sector booming, and we'll see our revenue problem taken care of.
Well, that sounds like the way probably most of you grew up. When you walk out of the room, you turn off the lights. You don't waste anything. And I think you don't start by taxing more, you start by, first of all, eliminating costs that aren't necessary, and don't waste. We're very fortunate in this country to have what we have, and there's one other thing I think is important. We're going to have a lot of races coming up. We've got a lot in the next 2 years. I did not really know you personally, and you can't believe everything you hear on ads, or very little that you hear, but I'll tell you one thing. If you know people, and you know what kind of people those are, you take a good look at the people that are supporting that candidate, and that will tell you a lot about your candidate.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things that mattered to me and makes a difference to me.
That's right. Well, Mike, thank you so much for being with us. Keep up the good work. I hope in another year you don't come back and say, what did I get into? but I think you're going to be able to handle it, and you're up for it.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and it's a real honor to be here with you.
Great. Thank you for making a difference.
That's right.
And stay with us. We'll be right back.